Let's learn how to use Cursor. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a really basic Space Invaders game, but more importantly, I'm going to show you how to use multiple agents to build out your features, and by the end, show you how to use Git to manage your versions. Now, before we get started, Cursor has cafe days where they introduce how to use Cursor, and these are held all around the world. So let's now jump straight into it, and what you can see is Cursor has been installed already, and we jump straight into basically going to plan mode and tell it to build a Space Invaders game. Now you have different options between plan mode, build mode, or ask a question. And plan mode is good because it allows the agent to ask you questions, which is what you see on the screen, because there's a number of different ways you could solve this problem that you've asked for, build a Space Invaders game, but it's asking you, which would you prefer me to do? I've now given answers to the question and told it how I wanted to build it. It goes ahead and creates a plan, and I can review that plan, I can check that I'm happy with it, I can correct anything, and it hasn't cost me much to do this. When I'm happy, now I can actually go to build and click the build button, and you can see it instantly starts writing the code. Now this is using Cursor's own agent called Composer1, and you will see that it is blazingly fast, how quickly it generates a plan, how fast it creates the code, and before long it's actually built the entire application. So it's now ready to go. You can see the source files there are in the response from the agent. I can inspect the source code and see if I'm happy with the result or if there's anything I want to change. So we now have a working application that we can test. The next thing we can do is now save that plan, and we can ask the agent to save it as an MD file or a markdown file, and it will store it in the project directory alongside the source code. What that means is it always has reference back to what is the project trying to do, and that can become the context for it to make any future changes. It also allows you to track the plan as well to see what's been implemented or not, and it allows you to adjust the plan as you go along. So this is a really powerful tool for managing how you interact with your agents and to build out your project step by step. So you can now see that there is a file in the directory alongside the source code files that ends with .md. That is our plan. Now that we have created the game, we can actually test it inside of Cursor. So Cursor has an inbuilt browser, and we can ask the agent to start the game in the browser. And what you'll see is on the right-hand side, the panel where it says browser, that opens up like a true web browser, and your game starts playing instantly. It gives you information on how to play the game, and we now have a working application already. That gives us confidence and feedback and the opportunity to make our next improvements to the game. So you can see that the game is really primitive. The characters are represented by really basic blocks, and we want to improve upon that. We now would like to create the next feature or the next iteration of our game. We create a new agent before we give instructions about what we want built. The reason we do that is to keep the context window very small so that the agent is better able to process your request. It's not having to deal with lots and lots and lots of chat discussions like with other tools that you might use that can confuse it and eventually result in hallucinations. So what we're going to do is now go back into plan mode, and we're going to ask our agent to make an improvement upon the game that we saw. Now, the initial way that this was crafted is to give really detailed instructions to the agent to tell it what to do, whereas it's actually a very smart agent. So you can make it a lot simpler than this and erase it and write something much more basic, and it will understand and interpret it. It's at a much better level now than what a lot of the agents were, say, 3 or 6 months ago. So what we're going to do is change this to more simple language and type it much more basically and primitively. So let's just say, make the game have real space ships and aliens and explosions. Let's see how well it can interpret that. So we can see that it's going through the code that's already been written. And it says there's different ways I could do this for you. I'm going to give you 2 options and each has 3 sub options. Which would you like to do? So when you say real graphics, what should that be? Do you want sprite images? Do you want more detailed canvas drawn graphics? Do you want animated sprite sheets? And what should explosions look like? Should it be animated particle effects? Should it be sprite sheet animation? Or should it simple expanding circles with fade out? So again, by using the plan mode, it gives the agent a chance to clarify with you rather than spend a lot of tokens building the wrong thing and having you correct it. So this is a really good way, especially if you're starting, to make the most of interacting with your agent and not spending too much tokens. So I'm just going to go ahead and say I'd like it to have sprite images and I would like it to have animated particle effects. So it goes away and now executes that plan and goes, it waits for me to click the build button once again, just to confirm it's exactly what I want. And it's good if you can actually do it in this way because you might still correct the plan that it has come up with. I'm happy with this plan, so I'm just going to click build and it will go ahead and make the code changes necessary. It's going to do that very quickly again because it's a very basic code base. It's a very simple application that it's built, and in no time at all it's gone and made all of the code changes needed, and I will be able to test it again and see what it's done. So this is a really more of a conversational way of building an application rather than trying to give it very, very specific instructions or details. It will now go through and check its own code and see if there's any issues with it and check for linting errors. When it's happy, it will report that it's made all of the changes. It will tell you what changes it has made so you can review it and confirm it for yourself. And when you're ready, you can just go ahead and test the application yourself. We will now use Git to manage versions of our code. And if you're not familiar with Git, it's a tool that you push your code into and you can upgrade or update versions of your code. Now, the reason you want to do that is because in case the agent does hallucinate or make an error in your code, you can roll it back to a previous version. What you can see I'm doing is I gave it a really basic instruction and said just add Git to the project, and it's smart enough to know about what Git is. And I've already connected my Git, and so what it's doing is going through all of the steps necessary one step at a time and asking me to confirm, are you sure you want me to do this? Because this is a fairly significant step that I could erase an existing repo or code base or versions of my code. And so it's better if I step through this one by one, at least initially, to make sure it's doing the right thing. So I'm going to now approve each of these steps as it goes through and just observe and see what it does. But in the future, once I'm happy with this as a process, I can click on use allow list on the left-hand side there in the drop-down to say, I'm going to allow you to do this from now on. You don't need to ask me. So when I'm ready, I click on run and it'll run this initial step. And what it's going to do is create a local repository on my local machine, and it's going to push all of the changes into that repository initially. And I will be able to push those changes online to my global online GitHub repository at a later date. But for now, it's creating a local repo. All changes I can push into that and I can update. And when I'm happy, I can push that to a live server or my online version. So you can see that it's going through one step at a time and it's saying, are you sure you want me to do this? I'm quite happy with it, and so I proceed. And then eventually we have a setup project for us on Git, and it tells us all of the steps that it took to do that. And we can inspect that ourselves now. And we can check on the changes that have been made. So there's a button in the top right-hand corner to open up Git for this particular project, and we can have a look at the changes also online, and we can push those changes to our public repository or private repository online, depending on which we prefer. So those changes are now going up online. And if we had our online repo connected to a production server, we could push those changes out into the live production environment. And that is all.